Good evening, everyone. Welcome to uh, a special live streaming session on past year's actual papers, actual questions in simple and compound interest. Now, simple and compound interest, as you all know, is a very important arithmetic topic. It's one of the topics from which more or less in every slot you would have seen questions in the past. Especially if you notice in the last 5 years, if I remember it right, there have been close to 12 questions in all the 15 slots put together. Three slots every year. I'm talking from 2021 till 2025. So 5 years of three slots each. That is out of a total of 15 slots, there have been 12 questions. I think one of those is a repeat question. The same question from 2023 appeared in 2024. So I have taken all of those 11 questions, which we will try and solve now. I hope this works to start with. So let us start off with the first question over here. And for every question, I have also made a replica question. So a replica question is very similar to the previous question. As you have just learned how to solve that particular question, maybe you could also see if you can solve this question on your own. So that is the attempt of a replica question. Let's get to the questions now. Let's start off with the very first question. At a certain rate of at a certain simple rate of interest, a given sum amounts to 13,920 in 3 years and to 18,960 in 6 years and 6 months. If the same given sum had been invested for 2 years at the same rate as before, but with interest compounded every 6 months, then the total interest earned in rupees would have been nearest to which of the following options? Now let's see. One, we are working with simple interest. Let's note that down. A given sum amounts to 3 years, 13,920 in 3 years and 18,960 in 6 years and 6 months. So we should know firstly, under simple interest, amount is given by principal plus PNR by 100. Now, if you notice, principal into R by 100 is 1 year's interest. So I will rewrite this as principal plus N times K, where K is R percentage of P or P into R by 100, where N is the only changing factor. Now, why this helps is, let's see, I would just form my equations as principal plus 3 times k. In 3 years, the sum amounts to rupees 13,920. In 6 years and 6 months, which is effectively 6.5 years. So principal plus 6.5 times k equals 18,960. I hope you understand these two equations. Now, do you see the advantage of forming this P plus N into K? Simple, it becomes basic linear simultaneous equations, which I can solve just like that. So what do I do to solve them? Subtract the second from the first. P and P cancel off. 6.5k minus 3k. That's effectively 3.5k. Or maybe I can even write it as 7 by 2k if you're better with fractions. What is the difference between 18,960 and 13,920? You can see that I get 40 and then a 0 and then a 5. So 7k divided by 2 is 5040 or k is 5040 into 2 divided by 7. I think 7 times 720 happens to be 5040. So k is 1440. This is the very first step of the solution. Now coming to how do I find the principal using k? Of course, I will take up the second equation or even the first one. Since it has decimals, I would use the second one. Principal plus 3 times k. 3 times 1440 is 13,920. Now I should know 3 times 1440. is 4320. So principal plus 4,320 is 13,920. Eventually that tells me principal equals 0. I just have to subtract 9,600. Now I have just got the principal to be 9,600 and 1 year's interest, that is the K value or this PR by 100 as 1,440. So using these two, can I find the rate of interest R? Very easily. I would just say 9,600 into R by 100 equals 1,440. I can simply cancel off the zeros with the zeros at the top. So 96R is 1,440. R is 1,440 divided by 96. I think I can cancel this by 12. 12 is a number I can easily think of. 12 times 8 and 12 times 120, or the rate is 15%. Now I have also obtained that the rate of interest is 15%. Now coming to the question, the same rate as before, interest compounded every 6 months. Every 6 months would effectively mean n equals 4 periods of compounding. I am talking about the same sum invested for 2 years. Think about it. If I do 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, and so on, when will I finish 2 full years? 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, and 2 years. So n will be a count of 4. But now the rate of interest, which is 15% per annum, has now become only 7.5%. So now the question is, what is the total interest earned? Now under compound interest, remember now we are doing compound interest. So the amount is principal times 1 plus R by 100 whole to the power n, which is 1 plus 7, principal times. So 9,600 times 1 plus 7.5 divided by 100 to the power 4. So if you notice, this would be 9600 into 1.075 to the power 4. Now, this is probably a stage where you can use the on-screen calculator. For all of these, we probably did not require. This stage, maybe I would use the on-screen calculator, taking 1.075 times itself times itself times itself, which will give me an answer of roughly 12,820. That is after multiplying with 9600 as well. So 12,820, close to this number. So what is the interest alone? 12,820 minus 9600, which will eventually come down to 3220. Hence the answer will be option 4. 3221 is the nearest option. We probably made a decimal error or something. I hope all of you have understood this question. Let me quickly go through the method. At simple interest, in 3 years, I have a particular amount. In 6.5 years, I have a particular amount. That makes me simultaneous equations. P plus 6.5k and P plus 3k equals these numbers, using which solve for k and the principal. This itself will take some amount of our time. Then, using k and the principal, find out the rate of interest. Now, the last question is not what is P or what is K or what is R. Using this principal in rate, if I do compounding every 6 months, what is the total interest earned? Which alone warrants a separate calculation, leading to the final answer 3221, which is in option 4. So take a quick minute, please note it down fast. We will then move to the replica question. All right then. Now we will move to the replica question. Note it down. I will give you about 45 seconds to 1 minute. Try solving this question on your own or take a screenshot and you can try this later. It's almost the same as the previous question with just a few numbers changed. Okay, I guess we will move to question 2 over here. A loan of rupees 1000 is fully repaid by two installments of 530 and 594, paid at the end of the first year and the second year, respectively. If the interest is compounded annually, then the rate of interest in percentage is how much? Now, this is a very interesting question because we have formulae for how to calculate installments, right? But the installment is given, and the installment, if you notice carefully, it's not even the same numbers. It's not two equal installments. Whatever formula you might have studied under the installment concept does not apply to this question because it is not equal installments. Whenever there are unequal installments and you don't know the rate, the problem becomes slightly more complicated. Let us see how to solve this question. Now, I start with a principal 1000 rupees. I do not know what the rate of interest is. The question is find the rate of interest. Now, let me just take the multiplying factor once again. Let k equals that 1 plus r by 100. For example, if the rate of interest was 8%, then k would be 1.08. If the rate of interest was, let's say, option 2, 10%, k would be 1.10, 1 plus r by 100. If 11%, then k would be 1.11, or as per the fourth option, k would be 1.09. I hope all of you understood the concept of k. Under compound interest, k is the multiplying factor for percentage increase. All right. So now let us actually process the situation. I have 1000 rupees initially, right? So first I charge an interest. So that becomes 1000 times k. From this, I subtract the first installment, 530 rupees. I will have some balance. Is that right? Your 1000 rupees is not 1000 rupees. It has gone up little extra. From there, I pay an installment of 530 rupees. So there is something remaining. I don't know how much because I still do not know the value of k. On this, people are charging interest rate once again. Now this becomes a new number, and fortunately, this new number, if you repay 594 rupees, the second installment 594, you don't have any balance left. Are you understanding the flow of thought? 1000 rupees, interest added, it becomes a new number. You subtract 530 as the first installment. There is some remaining balance. In that you charge interest. That new number should exactly be equal to 594 because once you repay that, the loan is over. So the equation I have to form, if you notice carefully, is 1000 times k minus 530. This whole thing times k again is equal to 594. How many of you understand this equation? This is a quadratic equation if you notice correctly. Now let's open the bracket. 1000 times k squared minus 530 times k equals 594. Now this is a very complicated quadratic equation for which you may have to do quadratic roots or the quadratic formula and all. Maybe this is where we can get a little smart and play with the options. Let me form a valid equation that says 1000 times k squared equals 530 times k plus 594. My aim is to check where this equation holds good for which value of k. Unfortunately, I may have to go from the options a little bit because your on-screen calculator for the cat does not help you solve a quadratic equation directly. It's not a scientific calculator, it's only a regular one. So let's go from the options. So 1000 times 1.08 times 1.08 on one side, and then 530 times 1.08 plus 594 on the other side. I might have to multiply this pretty fast. So let's see. 530 into 1.08 is as good as 53 into 10.8 or 10.8 times 53 maybe. Let me try solving this quickly. I will get 3 to 4. 108 into 5 is, I guess, 540. So this comes to a total of 572.4 plus 594. Now let's add 572.4 plus 594. I believe I will get 1166.4. Is that right? I will end up getting 1166.4. Let's see if that's what I get here. 1000 into 1.08. That's very, very easy. 1080. Right? Now 1080 into 1.08. This is again as good as 108 into 10.8. Now, if you remember how to square a number more than 100, a little over 100 very quickly, you can use 100 plus 8 the whole square very fast. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. 10,000 plus 64 plus 100 into 8 into 2, which is 1600. So you will actually get 11664. With the decimal, it becomes 1166.4. We are a bit lucky here because the very first option worked out right. Otherwise, I should have tried 1.10, 1.11, and so on. Eventually, the answer is option 1, 1.08. Now, please do not forget that I cannot directly try options 8, 10, and 11. I should have tried 1.08, 1.10, 1.111, and so on. 1.11 and so on. I hope all of you have got this. Please make a quick note of this. We will go to a replica of question 2. Okay, now let's go to the replica question. Yes, please take, let's say, 45 seconds to a minute. Try this on your own, please. Okay, we shall move to question 3 now. I hope you have taken a screenshot of this and will try later as well. Here comes question 3. An amount of rupees 10,000 is deposited in bank A for a certain number of years at a simple interest of 5% per annum. On maturity, the total amount received is deposited in Bank B for another 5 years at a simple interest of 6% per annum. If the interest received from Bank A and Bank B are in the ratio 10 is to 13, then the investment period in years in Bank A is how much? So let's try to bifurcate this. So in Bank A, what do? I take 10,000 rupees. I have 5% per annum return. I don't know how many years, so let me call it n years. Now all this will lead to an amount, right? On maturity, this amount is received and deposited, right? Let's call this A. Now in Bank B, what happens? I'll call this Bank A and then Bank B. In Bank B, what happens is I take amount A as the principal. The principal itself is amount A. This is deposited for another 5 years and 6% per annum. If these two interests alone are in the ratio 10 is to 13, then what is the investment period in Bank A? Now, in both cases, I have simple interest. So, interest itself means PNR by 100. Whatever the principal is, into N into R by 100. So, let me use that over here. In the first case, 10,000 into N, I don't know what N is, into rate of interest 5% by 100. This is one of the interests. The second, Bank B's interest happens to be amount A, which I don't know how much, into 5 years into 6% divided by 100. Correct? This is the PNR by 100 of Bank B. Now, apparently, these two are in the ratio 10 is to 13. Then what is the N value they are asking us? Correct? Now, think well. Can I write this amount A as 10,000 plus principal plus P into N into R by 100, which to become uh, describe very precisely will be 10,000 plus 500 times N. Why am I doing all this? So that I can directly get an equation with N alone. So instead of this A, I can write 10,000 plus 500 N. Now, if this ratio is 10 is to 13, let us first simplify the numbers as much as I can. For example, 5 and 5 are common, 100 and 100 are common. All this gets cancelled off. So now let me write the ratio. On the left side, 10,000 times n divided by, on the right side, 6 times a. Now, instead of a, let me use this also. 10,000 plus 500 n. 6 times 10,000 plus 500 n. All of you, I believe you understand what the equation I'm trying to form is. This ratio is apparently 10 divided by 13. I hope all of you are able to understand this equation completely. Interest of the Bank A, of the amount from Bank A, is PNR by 100, 10,000 into N into 5 by 100. Interest from Bank B is whatever that amount was, A into 5 into 6 by 100. These two are in the ratio 10 is to 13. That's my basic equation. But this A itself is in terms of N. This is where my confusion might lie. So now let's see what I can do to cancel off. I can definitely cancel 110 on either numerator. And from the denominator, if you notice, I have 1000 n by 6 into from 10,000 and 500. Can I just take out another 500 outside in common and say 20 plus n? I believe you all know how to take a common number out from a sum of two terms from basic algebra. 500 into 20 is 10,000. 500 into n is 500. So this happens to be, now it is not 10 by 13 anymore, it's 1 by 13. So now what happens is 6 into 500 is 3000. At the top I have 1000. 1000 by 3000 is again just 1 by 3. Now you cross multiply. Do not cross multiply before. Now cross multiplying becomes a little easy for us. So I have 13n equals 1 into 3 into 20 plus n. Now the equation is as simple as a linear equation. I just have to solve it. So 13n equals 60 plus 3n. Let me proceed further. 13n minus 3n gives me 10n equals 60, which means n has to be 6 years. If you notice, 6 years is available in option 3. So note this down, all of you. We will go to a replica of question 3. Okay, I hope all of you have noted this down. Let's go to question 3 replica. An amount of 25,000 is deposited in bank A for a certain number of years at a simple interest of 4% per annum. On maturity, the total amount is deposited in bank B for another 5 years at 2.5% per annum. If the interests are in the ratio 6 is to 7, what is the investment period in bank A? Exactly the same with just numbers change. Please try this on your own or take a screenshot. In a few seconds, we will move to question 4. Okay, I guess we will move to question 4 now. Anil invests 22,000 for 6 years in a scheme with 4% interest per annum, compounded half yearly. Separately, Sunil invests a certain amount in the same scheme for 5 years and then reinvests the entire amount he receives at the end of 5 years for 1 year at 10% simple interest. If the amounts received by both at the end of 6 years are equal, then the initial investment in rupees made by Sunil is how much? Now, this is a very nice question because it looks so complicated, but let's see how to break it down. Talk about Anil first. 22,000, 6 years, 4% per annum compounded half yearly. So can we do the mental correction where instead of 6 years, of course the principal is 22,000, but n becomes 12 periods of compounding. Half yearly for 6 years means it's a total of 12 times, right? Which makes it n equal to 12. And 4% interest per annum leaves us with R equals 2% on a half yearly basis. Per annum, per year 4% means for half year it is 2%. So the total amount received by Anil would be principal into 1 plus R by 100 whole to the power n, which is effectively 22,000 times, I will write 1.02 power 12. I will leave it here. I will not try to find out what is 1.02 power 12 and all. That's a waste of time. I might use calculator, but right now let's hold off. Separately, Sunil invests. So let's start off with Sunil. Sunil invests how much? A certain amount. So I do not know the principal. Same scheme for 5 years, which means N will be 10 periods of compounding. R will still be 2%. So what is the amount that I will get out of this? P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n, or effectively 1.02 to the power 10. Is this correct, all of you? 1 plus R by 100 to the power n. Because it's only 5 years and compounded half yearly, n becomes 10. So 1.02 power 10. Now this entire amount, so this entire money, P into 1.02 power 10, is invested for 1 year at 10%. So this will have an exact 10% growth only once, only for 1 year. So can I just say the new amount will be P into 1.02 to the power 10 multiplied by 110 by 100. Are you aware that a 10% increase means multiplication of 1.10 or 1 plus 10 by 100 or 110 divided by 100? I could also write it as 11 by 10 if I wanted to. Let's see. If the amounts received by both at the end of 6 years are equal, so basically this entire value equals this entire value. Now, do you realize why I said no need to calculate it? If you see, a lot of the powers are going to get cancelled off. Let me see. P into 1.02 power 10 into 110 by 100 equals 22,000 into 1.02 to the power 12. Now, what is the principle here? 22,000 times 1.02 power 12 times the denominator of the left side will go up. That makes it into 100 at the top by 1.02 to the power 10 multiplied by 110. That's all. The problem is almost solved for us. 10 powers and 12 powers cancel off, giving me only 2 powers left at the top. And then 11 times 2 is 22. 110 can cancel off. So 200. Now, do you see the problem? It's very, very easy. It's just 20,000 into 1.02 into 1.02. If you ask me, this is very, very easy to do. 4 zeros, if I take off, it is just 2 times 102 times 102. Remember the technique for calculating the square of 102, 100 plus 2 the whole square. 10,000 plus 4 plus 2 into 100 into 2. So this will be 2 times 10404 or 20808. Hence the answer will be option 2, 20808. Take a quick minute, note this down or take a screenshot. Please try to understand how these questions can be solved even without using a calculator. Now, these are some of the problems. If I remember it right, this is a question from 2023 or 2024. But the important thing I remember is people used a calculator to solve this question and ended up taking more time than required. But maybe this method will help you to solve this question in, let's say, 2.5 to 3 minutes. 2.5, 3.5 minutes, depending on our mental math skills. But if you can do that, it can even help avoid the usage of a calculator. No need to do 1.02 power 10 or power 12 at all. Okay, I believe all of you have noted this down. Let us go to a replica of question 4. Take a screenshot of that and please try when you find that. Okay, I'm going to go to question 5 now. Let's move on. Aman invests rupees 4,000 in a bank at a certain rate of interest compounded annually. If the ratio of the value of investment after 3 years to the value of the investment after 5 years is 25 is to 36. Now you should know that compounded annually means I just have to take the amount as P into 1 plus R by 100 to the power n. And like I already said, 1 plus R by 100 is effectively a percentage increase. So I would rather write it as P times K power n. The K reduces our writing effort. It saves some time for us. And eventually, if I understand what it is, it helps me process things better. Now, where does this help me? After 3 years to after 5 years. It's a ratio of 3 years ka amount and 5 years ka amount, which is principal times K power 3 by principal times K power 5. This ratio is 25 divided by 36. I hope you get this. So what is the very first thing we learn very quickly here? Simple. Principal will cancel off. K power 3 and K power 5 will ensure K square in the denominator. So 1 by K square equals 25 divided by 36. Look at the numbers 1, K square, 25, 36. All perfect squares. So the natural step is take square root on both sides. So 1 by K equals 5 by 6 or K equals 6 by 5. Now we know very well K is nothing but 1 plus R by 100, or is it a percentage change? Now one thing you can do quickly, if you are good at percentage changes, what is 6 by 5? Isn't 6 by 5 simply 1 plus 1 by 5, where 1 by 5 denotes 20%? So the rate of interest is just 20%. I hope all of you are able to get this quickly. The rate of interest is 20%. Or if you say, no, no, I may get confused over here, no problem. Write 1 plus R by 100 equals 6 by 5. R by 100 equals 6 by 5 minus 1, which will be 1 by 5. So R is 1 by 5 into 100, which will eventually give you the same 20% only. That is not a problem. So I hope you realize this. Okay. I personally recommend knowing 6 by 5, which will quickly translate to 20% from the concept of percentages that you have already learned. Okay, that is the first recommendation. As a backup, at least you can write down and solve. Now, I have come to R equals 20%. Now what? The minimum number of years required for the value of investment to exceed 20,000 is 4,000 should exceed 20,000. So 4,000 into 1 plus R by 100. So effectively 6 by 5 or 1.20 power n. This should cross a value of 20,000. Is this correct? That's all. The problem is almost over. I know 4,000 and 20,000 is just 5 times. So 1.20 to the power n is greater than 5 for a bare minimum of what number? That is effectively the question, isn't it? Now at this stage again, I can use a calculator, right? 1.2 into 1.2 into 1.2. Maybe if you remember powers of 12, it is easy. 12 power 1 is 12. 12 squared is 144. 12 cube is 1728. 12 power 4 is, if I'm not wrong, 20736 and so on. But how much can you remember? Even maximum power 4, if you remember, which itself is hard, it still does not cross, right? So maybe yes, at this stage, after 1 point, I have to keep multiplying by 1.2, 1.2, 1.2 every time. I hope all of you are able to get the need where you may have to use a calculator here. Now let's see. As a trial and error case, I see that 1.2 power 7 is approximately 3.58. So take that and multiply by another 1.2. 1.2 power 8 is approximately 4.29 or something like that. So let me do one more time. 1.2 to the power 9. I think this is where it crosses for the first time. 5.159 or something. So to cross 5 times, I need a minimum power of 9. So what I understand is n equals 9 as minimum number of years, assuming we are compounding annually only, which will be the final answer, n equal to 9. Now another method, if you remember how logarithms work, for an inequality 1.2 to the power n greater than 5, you can just take logarithm on both sides and say n log 1.2 is greater than log 5, or n should be greater than log 5 to the base 1.2 or log 5 by log 1.2. Log in a scientific calculator environment, log 5 by log 1.2 is directly available as an answer. That will be 8 point something. You can just instantly see that and say answer is 9. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, this option is not available for us. You have to go by a trial and error of powers only. Note this down quickly. We will go to the replica question right after this. Okay, I'm going to go to question 5 replica. Note it down, try this on your own quickly. Here also, I have made your job a little easy up to finding the R value. Okay. If you notice, if you use your mind a little bit, finding the rate of interest as a percentage, like 20% in the previous problem, is still equally easy. Try this on your own. Take a screenshot, maybe try this later as well. Okay, moving on to question 6. Anil borrows rupees 2 lakhs at an interest rate of 8% per annum, compounded half yearly. He repays 10320 at the end of the first year and closes the loan by paying the outstanding amount at the end of the third year. Then the total interest in rupees paid over the 3 years is nearest to how much money? Now, interest rate of 8% per annum compounded half yearly. Do you agree that this will effectively change to 2 lakh rupees initially? R will only be 4%, but every 6 months. I hope this is a part you are able to understand on your own to start with. So as much as possible, let's minimize calculator usage and try solving as fast as we can. So at the end of the first year, you repay 10320. How does that work? So do 4% every 6 months. So 2 lakh rupees. What is 4% of 2 lakh? Do a little bit of mental math. 1% is 2000. So 4% will be 8000. So adding this, I'll get 208000. I believe this was easy. Add one more 4%. 1% is 2080. If you notice 2080 into 4. So 8320. So this makes the total amount at the end of 1 year to be 216320. 216320 is what I have, out of which the person repays 10,320. This is the moment where you have to subtract 10,320. Fortunately, the entire 320 gets subtracted, so you're going to get 206000. Now, this is what is a new principle. On this is already end of first year. From now, the person, Anil, is not repaying anything. At the end of third year, so this is a total of 2 years, which effectively means n equals 4 periods of investment and r equals still 4%. Correct? So at this point, let me calculate the amount directly. Amount equals P into 1 plus R by 100 to the power n. Again, for 4%, 2,06,000 into 1.04 to the power 4. Correct? 2,06,000 into 1.04 to the power 4. I think this, if you calculate it, will end up becoming 240990. Again, at this point, 1.04 par 4 and all is not going to be easy to do. So better do this. You can do 4%, another 4%, just like I did 4% over here, right? Like this, you will have to do. One, you may have to do too many approximations, and it is a tedious process. So maybe at this stage, yes, it is okay to use a calculator. So 240990. So if you notice, the total amount paid is 24990 plus 10,320. Correct? Out of which exactly 2 lakhs will be the principal alone. So total interest will be, please, this is the place where I want you to not get confused. Do not write the answer as 40990 because look at the options. There is an option called 40991. It's very tempting to mark that as the answer if you are in a hurry. But please remember earlier what you paid 10,320. Anything except 2 lakh rupees counts as interest. in this problem, right? It doesn't matter when you paid at the end of first year, second year, third year, doesn't matter. Whatever you paid other than 2 lakhs, out of all the amount you are paying, 2 lakh alone will count as principal. Everything else is interest. So effectively, I just have to cut off this two. Okay, I'll not cut it off. I'll show it just for your sake. So add these two numbers now. See where it goes. It goes close to 51,310, which is option 2, 51,311. It says nearest to, which allows for some approximation. So 51311 is actually the right answer option. Note it down quickly. We will go to question 6 replica soon. Okay, now we shall go to the replica question. Have a quick try at this if possible, or take a screenshot, please. I invite you to try this later. Okay, we'll move on to question 7. Alex invested his savings in two parts. The simple interest earned on the first part at 15% for 4 years is the same as the simple interest earned on the second part at 12% per annum for 3 years. Then the percentage of his savings invested in the first part is. Okay, so I have a savings. I have something called first part. I have something called second part. Shall I just call them A and B? That is, the principal themselves are A and B. Fortunately, this is a problem where both are simple interest. First part is 15% per annum for 4 years. 15% for 4 years. And in the second part, 12% per annum for 3 years. Correct? Now, this simple interest is the same as the other simple interest. So, PNR by 100 equals PNR by 100, which is going to be very quick for me to get a ratio. So, let's see. A into 15 into 4 by 100 equals B into 12 into 3 by 100. Can I just cancel the hundreds? Obviously, I can. In fact, 15 into 4, 12 into 3, these are all not very hard numbers at all. 4 times 3 is 12. And 3 times 5 is 15. So I directly get A by B equals 3 by 5. The problem is almost done effectively. So A and B are in the ratio 3 is to 5. So out of a total of 8 parts, I believe you totally know ratio proportions and variations. If A and B are in the ratio 3 is to 5, out of total 8 parts, A alone is 3. So percentage in the first part is 3 by 8 into 100. Again, I hope you remember how to convert fraction to percentages. Remember, 1 by 8 is 12.5%. So 12.5 times 3, which in this case happens to be 37.5%. First part answer is 37.5%. If the question was what is the percentage in the second part, you should have given 100 minus this number, that is 62.5. Either way, here the answer is option 2, 37.5%. A very, very easy calculated problem because it is only based on simple interest. Note this down quickly. We will go to question 7 replica. Okay, let's see the replica question here. Again, a very, very similar question, just the numbers have been slightly changed a bit. So take about 30 seconds. In fact, I would probably slightly challenge you to solve the question now itself. It's not very hard. I'll give you, let's say, 30 seconds. Maybe for this question alone, I will try to work on it in my mind and reveal the answer to you. Okay, let's say 5 more seconds and I'll give you the answer. The answer is 68.75. I hope you all noted a small trap. Here, the replica was not savings in the first part. Here, it was second part. Okay. A small possible mistake. If in a hurry, if you're doing first part, you might have given the answer as option 2, whereas the actual answer is option 1. Okay. Moving on to question 8. Mr. Pinto invests one fifth of his capital at 6%, one third at 10%, and the remaining at 1%, each rate being simple interest per annum. Then the minimum number of years required for the cumulative interest income to equal or exceed his initial capital is. Now, this is where there is a small trick we might miss out. In a hurry, you know what you will do is you understand all these one fifth, 6%, one third, all these are easy fractions and numbers to work with. So, if you start as usual, assuming your principal is P, you will say 1 by 5 of P at 6%, 1 by 3 of P at 10%, and so on. I would personally not recommend that way. You have one fifth, then one third, and something called remaining. So let me assume the total principal as 15p. What is the LCM of 5 and 3? 15. So one fifth of his capital. What is one fifth of 15? 1 by 5 of 15 is just 3. So 3p is invested at 6%. And one third means 5p is invested at 10%. And the remaining at 1%. This is very easy. 3 plus 5 is 8 times principal, 8 times P effectively. So this remaining should be 7P at just 1%. Correct. Now calculate the interest income from all of this. This is all gonna total for 1 year. How many years do you need to have a return equal or exceeding his initial capital? That's effectively the problem. In fact, right now I would recommend take the principal as 1500 because it's the number of years that matters. So this will be 300, 500, 700. Why am I doing this? Very simple. For a multiple of 100, a percentage calculation is very, very easy. What is 6% of 300? 3 into 6, 18 rupees. 10% of 500, that's extremely easy, 50 rupees. 1% of 700, 7 rupees. What is the sum of all this? 18 plus 50, 68, 68 plus 7, 75 rupees. So tell me, 75 into how many years will give me equal or above 1500? Such an easy answer, 20 years. Look at how, even if you don't know the principle, because you understand that it's only percentage based, a smart assumption of 1500 rupees as the principal, basically 100 so that percentage is easy to do, and a multiple of 5 and 3. That's how I start sensing 1500. I hope that was easy over here. Note this down quickly. We will go to a replica question of the same. I think this question also, the replica part, I will still give you 30, 45 seconds or something. You have to solve on it. Okay? Okay, let's move on. Try the replica question on your own. Think of the smart assumption. Let's see who can make the assumption correctly. That will be really useful. Now, if you notice, 1/6 and 1/4, and then remaining, of course, right? So, one good assumption that I can think of is 1,200 rupees. 1,200 is a very good number because percentages wise, I need a multiple of 100, then a multiple of 6, multiple of 4. 2,400, you may think, but LCM of 6 and 4 is 12 only. So, even 1,200, a slightly smaller number, is even better in this case. Okay, we will move to question 9. I'm not revealing the answer. Try this. Maybe you put up the answer or you do it for yourself. Neetu has an initial capital of 20,000. Out of this, she invests 8,000 at 5.5% in Bank A, 5,000 at 5.6% in Bank B, and the remaining amount at X% in Bank C, each being simple interest per annum. Her combined annual interest income is equal to 5% of the initial capital. If she had invested the entire capital in Bank C alone, then her annual interest income would have been basically what is X%. You find out X%, the problem is almost solved. Now there is 20,000 again, 8,000, 5,000 remaining. So how much is that? 8,000 and then 5,000. These two add up to, if you notice, 13,000 rupees. So the remaining is another 7,000. Now for 8,000, the percentage is 5.5%. For 5,000, the percentage is 5.6%. And for 7,000, it is X%. Correct? Now the overall combined annual income from all this is 5% of the capital. What is 5% of 20,000? If you notice, 10% is 2,000. So 5% is exactly 1,000 rupees. So the total interest income is 1,000 rupees. Now let's calculate quickly. What is 5.5% of 8,000? That's as good as 5.5 into 80 because 1% is 80 rupees plus 5.6% of 5,000. 1% is 50 rupees. So 5.6 into 50 rupees plus 1% of 7,000 is 70 rupees. So X% will be 70X. The sum of all this is this 1,000 rupees. Tell me, can I find X value easily or not? The problem is almost over actually. Let's see. 5.5 into 80 is as good as 55 into 8 for 40. 5.6 into 50, 56 into 5 effectively. So 280 plus 70x equals 1000. 440 plus 280 itself is 720. So subtracting 720 to the other side, you get 70x equals 280, or x is simply 4%. If she had invested her entire initial capital, 20,000 rupees, in Bank C alone, basically at 4%, what is 4% of 20,000? Annual interest income is just going to be 800. Again, how to calculate 4% of 20,000? I believe it's a no-brainer. 200 into 4, that itself is enough. Therefore, the answer is option 4. Another small trick, which is not applicable here, but maybe in the future, if the situation is favorable, I would recommend you to think of it. If you notice, okay, there is Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, and then there is something called overall. Bank A offers 5.5%. Bank B offers 5.6%. Bank C is X%, which I, of course, don't know. The overall is only 5%. Now, do you see that because of Bank C's contribution, the overall is coming lower than A and B. which means one thing I can say for sure is x is less than 5%. Do you all understand? See, if bank C was also more than 5, let's say even 5.1, the average of 5.5, 5.6, 5.1 can never be 5. It will still continue to remain above 5. Is that right? The only way the average or the overall is a particular number is when there are numbers both higher and lower of it. Correct? Basically, the concept here that you have to know is the average of a few numbers is always within the few numbers. It is never higher than all of them nor lower than all of them. So if your average is 5, at least one of the numbers should be below 5. If you have a 5.5, 5.6 and an average 5, the third missing value is 100% below 5. So this is a very, very smart logic you can quickly think of. So what I could have done is, if she had invested her entire capital in Bank C alone, I'll calculate 5% of 20,000, which is 1,000 rupees. One thing I can confirm for sure is the answer is below 1,000. Without doing any of this calculation, the answer is below 1,000, I could have said. But unfortunately here, there are three options below 1,000. So in this problem, it's better I actually solved it. Let's say there was a situation in the future where one option was 1,000, then two options were above 1,000 and then 800 was there. I would not even calculate. I will just mark 800 and seriously, I can have that confidence because the concept of averages, average of a set of numbers always lies within the numbers. That is something I want you to try and remember. Okay, going for the replica here. Take a few seconds, solve this, note this down. We will go to question 10 after this. Okay, just about 5 to 10 more seconds. We will move on to question 10. Anil invests some money at a fixed rate of interest compounded annually. If the interest accrued during the second and third year are 806.25 and 866.72 respectively, the interest accrued in INR, Indian rupees, during the fourth year is nearest to how much? Right? Now this is fixed rate of interest compounded annually. How do you find the interest in a particular year? So if I have a principal P, R% per annum and compounded annually. If this is the scenario, the formula for amount is given by P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n, or maybe our version will be P times K power n, where K is that multiplying factor. Correct? This we all know. But what if the question is interest of the second year alone? So interest in second year. This would effectively be amount of the first year. So principal into K power 1. First year's total amount. This into R by 100. Same way, interest in second year. Sorry, not second year. Third year. Interest in the third year would be amount after 2 years. Principal times the square of k. P into 1 plus R by 100 power 2 or P into K power 2. This times R by 100. A percentage on the second year's amount alone. Now these are the two equations given to you. So do you understand that if this is 806.25 and this is 866.72, Dividing both of them, P will cancel, R by 100 will cancel, 1 power of K will cancel. You can find K. You can find K. Using K, you can find R, and you can use that to find interest in the fourth year. So interest in the fourth year is effectively the amount for 3 years. Principal times K cube, this times R by 100. So the question is, how much is this answer? Correct? So Pk into R by 100 is 806. Pk squared into R by 100 is 866 something. What is Pk cubed into R by 100? So find K, multiply it. That's your job. Correct? But certainly, please do not do this. I mean, all this for conceptual understanding is fine, of course. Now, for second year to third year, do you see that I am only multiplying by K? And for third year to fourth year also, I am multiplying by K. On the left side, you see the conceptual, the formula expression. Into K is happening extra, into K is happening extra. So this concept, not only the amount for each year, the interest for each year also follows a geometric progression. Now, some of you may be aware of what a GP is, some of you may not be. I'll still tell you in this problem what is a quick way. Now take 806.25 to 866.72. Do you roughly see close to a 60 rupees increase? The increase in the interest is 60 rupees. And roughly try comparing 800 rupees versus 60 rupees. Can you realize this is 7.5%? Again, there is 1.4 or whatever, but it's almost 7.5%. Can you observe this? Or if you really have a doubt, do 7.5% of 806.25 and add it. You will exactly get 866.72. Okay, if you want confirmation, I'm just doing a little bit of approximation. Again, I'm taking the liberty of the correct. Okay, that extra 6 rupees ka 7% only is that extra 40 pies or whatever. That's why this 25 pies has become 72 pies. Okay, that's exactly the difference. So here with some observation skills and that smart mental math, especially things like 7.5%, these are not easy. But if you think well, it is kind of doable. For 800 rupees, 10% is 80 rupees. 5% is 40 rupees. So in the middle, right? 10% is 80 rupees. 5% of is 40 rupees. So 60 rupees has to be 7.5%. Exactly in between, right? So this kind of observations, if you sense them, the problem is much, much easier. So what is my job now? Calculate 7.5% of 866.72. I'll take 866.72. Maybe even the 0.72 may not matter a lot. Let's take 10%. 10% of 866.72 is almost 86.67. And what is 5% of 866.72? Half of that 86.67. So let's say that will be around 43.33 or something like that. So what is 7.5%? Try to find the average of 43 to 86. There is another 43 increase, so around 22.5 or something I will increase, right? If I increase around 22.5, I am likely to get 21.5, I'm sorry. I'm likely to get 64.33 and another half, so around 8 or something like this. So roughly around 64.83. Not exactly, but very, very close. Okay, I'm not making too much approximation. I'm just making some sensible judgment. At 64.83, 64.83. I will nearly get, I'll more or less add exactly only. Let's see. 6 plus 4 plus 1 is 11. 86 plus 6 plus 1 is 931.55. Of course, that 0.55 alone could be an error, but I'm correct at least to the nearest rupees. The answer should be option 1, 931.72. That's 72 because I'm missing out small, small numbers. That's So this is a slightly faster way to solve the problem. Again, if not, you can do it very quickly. See, with a calculator, I'll tell you how to get this 7.5% very quickly. If you want, take the calculator that's available in the CAT exam, the on-screen one. Take 866.72, just divide it by 806.25. Try this. This will give you exactly 1.075. This is another indication that your guess 7.5% is correct. What is the K factor for 7.5%? 100 plus 7 point, sorry, 1 plus 7.5 by 100, which is 1.075, right? So the same multiplication you do again. Then take 866.72, multiply it by 1.075. I tried to show you without a calculator, but let's say with calculator, this is all that you need to do, correct? So this is exactly how you can solve this particular question as fast as possible. So try understanding a few more concepts in relation with simple compound interest. For example, so many places we use percentage change, right? Using the K as a factor, we solved quite a few questions. And in quite a few places, we understood that all I have to do is sometimes just simultaneous equations. P plus 2K, P plus 5K. Solve for P and solve for K, the problem is over. Instead of having so many things like principal, rate, number of years and all of that, right? Then one more important tip is understanding what happens when you compound half yearly or quarterly or something like that, right? That is one more concept. Then here a new concept in this particular question, the concept of GP. In compound interest, amount follows a geometric progression. Even this you might have learned if you were preparing SICI for CAT. Now the new learning in this particular problem, conceptually that we get is interest for every year alone. Interest of second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year. They also follow a geometric progression with the same K factor, with the same common ratio. That's another extremely new learning for this session. I believe all of you have it. Note it down, take a screenshot or whatever quickly. I'm going to move on to the replica question, after which we will wind up the session. So yes, here is the replica question. Kindly solve this when you find time. Now let me see if there are any questions, anything in the comments or the chat section. Hi, SB Prep. I have a question from you. Sir, can you bring one session of DILR? Yes, yes, I'm sorry, I don't get your name. But yes, we will definitely have sessions in DILR, not just one session. There will be multiple live sessions on DILR also. They are planned. Please watch out for updates. Please follow our Telegram group as well. That should help you understand when these sessions are planned. Okay. And if you are in our Telegram groups, please look for announcements. All right. So here ends our session. Watch out for the upcoming sessions, the future lectures as well. I'll see you all soon. Have a good evening, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye bye.